Hey, good afternoon, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, Results Staffing, Social Media. Hey, got a great show today. Promise, keep it about 20 minutes. It's in reference to exit interviews, also about everybody's favorite subjects of getting let go, getting fired, if you want to say, get it fired. So be right back after this. That video is still intense. Wow. Hey, listen, today's subject, there's two, and one of them is going to be about exit interviews, and the other one's going to just kind of go right into about being terminated, fired, let go, whatever kind of words that you want to say here. But I wanted to talk about first the exit interviews. Is it important that you do them? It's a lot of cost to the company, like 21% every time they let somebody go. You're hoping to build a better team, but what do you think? Should you fill them out? Should you do it? I thought about it over and over. Maybe it's a supervisor that's causing problems. And in your exit interview, you could bring that up. Harassment, the culture that you didn't fit. The job description wasn't correct when you started, your assignment. And it wasn't correct. What do? You weren't told this. There's so many different things. And, maybe the recruiter didn't explain to you that well. That always happens too. And, there's always two stories. There's always two. You always have two sides of the story, and you're not going to win. Nobody wins either way. And they send, the exit interviews to HR, and HR should go ahead, read through it and act. Do they? If they're a good HR company, company that has a good HR director, yes, you should take them, especially now because of the high turnover with candidates. Really take a look at these interviews. Don't just toss them out, because sometimes you can learn from them. If you get 5 or 6 the same ones about a supervisor or the management, somebody was saying something about me. Maybe there's one employee that just really goes after everybody. You could put that in your exit interview. Whatever you want. Be honest, but really don't say much when you're in there. Just my opinion. Listen, I didn't do mine. I didn't feel I had to. I was not in the right mind. I had resigned. I didn't choose to do it. And the reason being I didn't do it is because I didn't find it relevant because the company was a great company. It wasn't anything to do with the company. So for me to sit there and say something bad about the company, I couldn't think of anything because they really took care of me. Not at the end, but if it's a bad boss, you got to make a choice. You got to make a choice whether you're going to stay or you're going to go. And especially when you do leave, what are you going to say? Should you quit? There's a couple questions here. Should you have another job lined up when you quit besides getting fired? Employees don't want a track record of being fired. All right. I wouldn't really think over it. I really wouldn't think too much over it, because what's going to happen is just going to happen. It's going to take its course. Either you're going to be let go. It's really a no-win situation. And I've talked about it a couple times. You get that gut feeling that something's going on. Everybody has that. In your mind that something's going on. They're ignoring you. How do you save a job? One of the questions here somebody had asked, how do you save your job? Do you talk to your boss, the one that's not going to give you any probably good reviews? Do you join a new team within your organization? Will that help? These are just some of the things. Look for different projects. Maybe you can turn it around. Maybe you can turn around if it was for performance, and they've talked to you about it. Try to do something to better yourself. If you really want to stay with the company, this one here about asked to be laid off, not let go. There's really not much of a difference there. Everybody says, well, unemployment, the majority of the time you'll win if they're letting you go, because if they don't documentate every single thing, I've been to so many hearings, and I'll tell you what, you can win them sometimes, but the majority, I just told the truth. If I didn't feel that person was let go with I didn't say nothing. I went there and I just sat there because it was the best thing to do. It was the right thing to do, whether management knew about it or not. I looked at it myself, and I knew the candidate. I knew them personally even. I was like, no, this one got rivered over, and just let it go. But if you have a really good human resources department, go to them. I'm telling you, because they'll help you. I know people are scared of HR. Listen, HR scares the living hell out of me, because they're not there to say, Dave, you're doing a great job. I don't care how old I am. I'm 54, and they still scare the living hell out of me, because when they call you in for a meeting, it is never about you're doing a great job. That's I wish would change sometimes, because that's what it is. HR just does not come out and say hello to you. They don't. They're either in another state, especially in the staffing industry, you have to have your own teams back. Your employees, we have HR and staffing, but you really have to have your employees back. Really stick up for them. If you feel they've been wronged, you got to say something, and put on there. So, can you quit for stress? One of the questions were, can you quit for stress? That's a common question. Yes, you can quit for any reason, but if you go to your doctor, maybe you need just to take a break. Doctors can put you out. I took a month off. I took some leave of absence. Listen, stress, it was getting to the point, and I'm just telling you a personal story. It was affecting my family. It was affecting me. It was affecting my health. It was affecting, my children, all because of one person. So when you let one person dictate that, that's where, you need to really look at that. All right, we got a question here. My employer is known to sabotage employees that leave the company. How do I stop this for doing this to me? My employer is known to sabotage employees that leave the company. Tamara, listen, the best thing that I've learned in all these years of 20 years of staffing is to documentate. You need to documentate every single thing from the start to the finish. I had a great colleague in staffing, and she passed away last year. She told me the best advice, and it was like, prepare for war. That's what she said, prepare for war. If it wasn't for her giving me that great advice of documentate all your emails, documentate all the times. Just write that thing down. Hey, my boss said this to me, blah. Anything that you can think of through the whole time, and you're prepared, that's going to make you really do well, because you can call the person out, because you have everything in front of you. You put it in a file, print out your emails. Listen, that's the best way that you can counteract something like that. If they're trying to sabotage you, that's another different word, and I get that. We had a company, the company I was with, manage them out. Manage them out, you're told. That, when people say that, manage them out. If I would have known now, since I had left the company, that when people had said that to me, I would never, ever do that again. Never. That is the most wrong, ethical thing you could do. Is just manage them out. So if that person's got 10 years with a company, never been written up, and you get a new person coming in, and you want to get rid of that person, and you say to your colleagues, manage them out, you're just putting stress. That it's never going to happen ever again, because this is where HR, you need to go to HR. Even Tamara, HR, again, if you're having problems, a lot of people don't want to go to them. You need to. They are trained. If they're a good human resources department, listen, they have to be biased right in the middle. They are not there just for the company. They're there for you. So if you don't say anything to HR, you're wrong. Now, I did. So that was the first time, and that was a hard thing to cross when you got to make that call. But they will listen to you and they'll write everything down, and it's their job to investigate. Even if it's about a bad boss, somebody that's doing something against you, you need to take and do it. Because either way, if you know you're on your way out, there's nothing wrong with talking to them. Close the door, open door policy. Because then if they've had a couple complaints at that time, right, they should be acting on that. And listen, I was nervous. I didn't want to do it, but it was the best thing that I ever did. The best thing, is because that puts a person that's after you, that's really wants to terminate you, let you go. And maybe it's for just cause. There's always two stories. Maybe, if you're put on a PIP, I like PIPs, because I was even put on one. At first, I thought it was wrong, but it's not. It can be utilized really well, because it can really say you're trying to help the candidate, say, listen, we're putting you on a PIP. This is an action plan. That action plan has to be written out, and I've seen them. They're really a good way to help you. Now, if you don't do anything on it and you feel all ignorant and all that, don't say that all the time, because if it's a good manager, and that's what I had on this. I had a great manager for that she put me on a PIP, but she was there to protect me, and I did everything I was supposed to do, and that manager had my back. So don't ever think it's all over when somebody puts you on a PIP. Don't, because really do what it says, and sometimes you'll come off looking better on that. Why do always the good? This was a good question. I feel like asking, please, Kathleen, Daniel, I see them all, Quentin. Why do good employees get fired? There's some smiling at that, because it's the truth. You can go, if you're let go of somewhere, right, and you go back to the company a year or two later and you see all the good people going, there's a reason. A new regional manager, thanks, Tamara, again, just do what I said there, and trust me, I'm only saying it because I know it'll work. And from personal experience and listening to a lot of other candidates, I always tell them, like I said, go to HR. That's what they're there for. But why do employees? Positive attention. When you're really good, that attention's on you. Man, people in the office are like, wow, look at this person, right? Management's fearful that you could take their job. You know what I mean? Like, so if you have a manager that's really against you, or, and you might be better, listen, there's nothing wrong with wanting to grow. But some managements, whether it's staffing or in corporate world or everything, they think different. They'll be like, whoa, this person's really doing a great job. The other departments get angry. I always say, like marketing, if you're really good at sales and if you're really good at putting your message out there, marketing department, they can go crazy on you. They might not like you. They'll be like, no way, showing off, making yourself, look bad or anything, look good. So if you're showing off, maybe back off a little bit, but there's nothing wrong with, if you're a good employee. Listen, I've seen, since I've left, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 people gone. 4. Whenever you bring in that new management, and listen, a new management's always good for change. It can be positive change or it can be a negative one. So if you get the positive one, that's really great. But you get that negative one, and that person comes in and they look around, they want to make this change. They don't realize what they do. They don't realize that everybody's watching you. They're watching everything you're doing. So they came up with this list of like 8 signs that you're going to get fired. I kind of enjoy this one. Negative review performance. And there's nothing wrong. Hey, Brian, there's Brian. Great change. There's nothing wrong with a negative review performance if you're doing something wrong. It could be, Here's a great colleague of mine. Here's one of the best guys. Great to see you, Brian. He's an awesome recruiter. Awesome man. We've been through a lot, and you start getting left out. They start leaving you out on meetings. That's the biggest one, where they're like, Dave's not there. Come on in, let's talk. He's off today. The majority of the time, some people don't want to take time off because, or your vacation. Everybody says, listen, when you take vacation, it sucks sometimes because you can't get it out of your mind that, when you come back, they're going to dig on you. They've said, oh, Dave said this, or Tamara, Brian. They always do that. And you get a lot of people don't want to take vacation. But what I've learned now, as you grow into a different person and you grow with a company, it changes you. It changes your thought process. Would I let everything happen to myself in my career happen again? And no. Would I have changed ways I did it? Yes. There's some things I wish I would have. Another thing, retaliating with your boss is changing. Listen, your boss is changing. Just if you don't like it, that's where it comes a hard pill. You either got to suck it up and do it, or you take that chance of being let go. That's just reality. You received a demotion. Whoa, that's a good one. But don't always think it's a negative. Listen, if you are really getting demoted, I've been demoted. Listen, that's happened to me. Did I like it? No. Did it bother me? Yeah. But I didn't even think about it after that anymore. Let's see. Fewer projects that are assigned to you, you just get overlooked. And you can start getting that gut feeling. The main thing is the gut feeling. If you have that feeling that you're going to be letting go, start preparing. The majority states are at will. They are at will. They don't really, an employer doesn't have to in Pennsylvania give you a reason. Now, if they don't, something's wrong. The majority of them do, because to be just let go for not knowing, I think that doesn't represent the company's culture very well. Because if all of a sudden you go in work one day and all of a sudden you're gone and you don't know why, I think that's just wrong. I don't want to work for a company that does that. And I don't think anybody watching would do anything like that. Why would you want to work for a company that let go of some colleagues for no reason? Doesn't make sense. So that's where, as a company, you need to make that stand out for what you do. Non-competes. Woo-hoo. That's a good subject, right, Brian? Non-competes in the staffing industry. Listen, when I left the other company after like 8 or 9 years, I didn't even know what a non-compete was. That you just sign all those papers when you get hired. A lot of people don't realize it in staffing or corporate, you sign it. I believe if it's something, anything 100K below, anything like that, I don't really believe you should have a non-compete unless it's stuff like IT. And I understand that. But for staffing, why hurt somebody's career? You're not going to do anything, because like when I looked at my non-compete, I was like, wow, that was my signature. I didn't even know what it was. I was reading it. Okay, you can't go after the clients. I didn't want to anyway. You can't say anything negative about the company. That thing cracks me up, because can't say anything negative. Why? I can't get on here, but I don't, because I had a great company. Took care of me for a lot of years. Again, one bad boss that can do it. Another one of the questions here were, let's see, regional people and above for non-compete. I get that also. The majority of the time for, I'm going to say, candidates like myself, employees, that I would say for severance, non-compete, they're not going to enforce it. Would they have enforced it? They don't want any kind of really problems with the client. You learn all this stuff afterwards, because you see when somebody was let go 3 months prior to that year, they're already going after the candidates or the clients. They're starting to get in there and messaging them on LinkedIn, messaging them, hey, how's it going? It's just a done deal. And there's ways around it. I'm not going to get into it, but there are ways around non-competes, but at the end of the day, I had to learn tit for tat, just let it go. That's what I had to do. I felt so much better. Let it go. And if you do the same thing, that might help you. This one here is a really hard question. And sometimes I don't know the right answer. Is when do you let someone go? What time of day? Let's see what here we got. Gina, sometime taking that person to court for a non-compete, you will spending more money doing that than what the account's worth. Dina, Jay, Dina, you said that exactly. And that's why I said at different skill sets, you're making up there in the 3 figures and you're into something like sales, you're into something IT, something that you can really change. It's not worth it. There's, like you said, you'll spend more money doing that. You're better off just doing it, and just if they take you to court, they take you to court. But like I said, if you're doing to make a living, if you're doing it for your family, if you're doing it because you're not at fault, if you're doing it that you really feel that it's not your fault, if you sit back and say, you know what, this was wrong, then I would do it. I personally would, because I didn't do anything wrong, and they don't want to get involved with stuff like that. It is a huge mess in the staffing industry when you're only talking market managers, branch managers, and recruiters. You can't take a recruiter and they quit because of you. If you're in a bad mood or you get rid of them, you fire them, you can't do that. Let them go work. They got to make a living. So, back to the part about when to let somebody go. Beginning of the shift, mid-afternoon, end of the shift, on a Friday. I mean, me personally, there's not really a good time, but I would like to see it at the end of the day, because I know some people and they've been watching. Listen, you've been pulled in. Your team knows when somebody's going to be let go, because I don't trust your coworkers. I mean, trust to me has changed. When you're telling your coworkers things and saying, don't tell anybody, they normally do. That's just the way it is. So when you're preparing, don't say anything, because they know. So if in the afternoon you're there, all of you's in the office, and hey, Dave, come on in the office here. And then HR's on the phone. That's it. Sorry, it's just the way it is. When HR calls, you're in that meeting, they already have, and I say this respectively, I'm not saying this because there's two stories all the time. Don't ever get me wrong saying there could be things that you need to be let go by. But to end them, I just believe in the end of the shift, because if you do it during the day, your whole team suffers because they talk all day. Everybody emails, everybody calls. To do that, it ruins the whole day. On a Friday, that's always seems to be a big day. But if you do it at the beginning of the shift, no, because you got to watch that person pack their stuff. You got to watch. That is hard. That's not. If anybody enjoys letting somebody go, I've always said this, something's wrong with you. If you're not nervous when you have to let somebody go, something's wrong with you. Because if the night before you're saying, oh, wow, I don't want to end this person's assignment, and you enjoy that just to get rid of that person, then that's just the culture of the company. You need to get out of it, So just two more things here. It can bother the team. At the end of the day, oh, here we go. Do not make a meeting long. So last thing here is when you're letting somebody go and you're in that position, you're in that meeting, you're sitting there with usually your boss, and HR is on the phone, because like I said, the majority, unless it's corporates and staffing, you'll be called into the branch. Let them say what they want. There's no sense arguing. Some people say to argue back, state your facts if you have facts. Do it in a really a way that's very like a leadership style, because the decision's already been made. There's nothing when you go in there that's going to change that, unless you feel that you have a lot that you're going to bring back. Because right there, you got to make a decision. Are you going to sign? Are you going to sign for it? Because look, you got your non-compete, you got your save vacation, your benefits. Some people, they'll put you on that spot, which is, everybody gets it. Benefits at the end of the month, that can be a big game changer. They've given you 3 weeks severance pay, maybe your vacation pay. That's a hard thing to do. You got to make the decision. If you don't sign that, there's your chance. But it's a hard thing. I don't know how to really answer that. I would sign if it's knowing that I could get the benefits and stuff to the end of the month, because again, the decision's already been made. But once you sign that, there's not, if you have a lot, then you need to go back. And that's why I said we're going to end it here on exit interviews. That's when you just let it go. You let it go to that company because they should check into it. A lot of the times, again, they've made that mind up on this meeting. So on that note, I just wanted to talk about that. I felt it was really good to discuss exit interviews. Do them. Do the exit interviews. You know, I didn't do mine. But if you're on a high volume, you can really get to an issue. You know, if somebody else was to be let go when I didn't do my exit interview, you know, then that was my own fault. But I chose not to. That's what it's all about. You get to choose. It's all up to you. Nobody can tell you what to do until you're in that moment when you're in there face to face with everybody. So on that note, everybody, I'll talk to you this weekend. I've got another great show coming up. Have a great weekend.